Okay, so when you hear the name Frankenstein, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably a big, lumbering monster with bolts in his neck, right? A classic, simple horror story. But for over 200 years, Mary Shelley's novel has haunted us for a much, much deeper reason. This isn't just about creating a monster. It's really a powerful guide to what it means to be human, and, maybe more importantly, how easily we can forget. And that quote right there, that's the heart of what we're digging into today. The reason this story has stuck around for so long is because it holds up a mirror. It forces us to look at our own amazing capacity for creation and for abandonment. It suggests that our humanity, it isn't a given. It's something we have to actively work on all the time. So, how do we actually reframe this whole myth? Well, we start by understanding that being human is both a fact and a job. We might be born with all this human potential, but actually realizing it, that's a lifelong effort, a civilizing process. And Victor Frankenstein fails at this job, just spectacularly. In fact, his creation, the so-called monster, actually starts his life with way more humanity than his own creator. I mean, just listen to that. That is not the voice of a monster. That's the voice of a being who totally gets morality. The creature tells us point blank that his evil wasn't some built-in feature. It was a direct result of misery, of being completely and utterly rejected. His plea for happiness is really a plea for the basic things that allow anyone to be good. Okay, so to really get our heads around this task of being human, the analysis we're exploring lays out a really cool framework. 5 essential, interconnected pathways that nurture our humanity. You can think of them like a toolkit for civilizing ourselves, the very toolkit that Victor Frankenstein just threw away and his creature desperately tried to build all on his own. All right, so here they are. Knowledge, aesthetics, fraternity, material creation, and romantic love. Each one of these is a vital piece of the puzzle of a full human experience. So let's dive in and break down what each of these pathways really means. First up, knowledge. Now, for Victor, knowledge was all about power, right? A way to, as he says, pour a torrent of light into our dark world. But for the creature, totally different story. He teaches himself to read these incredible works of literature, not to dominate anyone, but just to figure out where he fits in. He craved knowledge for one simple reason: to belong. All right, next up, aesthetics, our sensitivity to beauty. And this is where we really see the creature's inner humanity just shine. While Victor is totally consumed by his ambition, the creature is deeply, profoundly moved by a beautiful landscape or the sound of music. This ability to appreciate beauty is tied directly to his ability to be moral. If he can feel awe, in that moment, he's way more human than his own maker. And then we have fraternity. And folks, this one is absolutely crucial. Humanity is relational. We don't become human in a vacuum. We become human when other people see us and care for us. The creature's deepest pain is his loneliness. And Victor's ultimate unforgivable failure wasn't just creating life on a whim, it was his refusal to be a father, a friend, anything for his creation. He denied him this basic human need. Our fourth pathway is material creation. I mean, the whole novel is a warning against creating things without taking responsibility. That's Victor's whole deal. But the drive to make things, to be useful, to help others, that's also a core part of being human. And the creature yearns for this. He just wants to contribute, to be kind to others. He wants his life to matter in a good way, which is a desire his creator never even bothered to consider. And that brings us to the fifth and final pathway, romantic love. This is what the creature begs Victor for, a companion, someone like him. It's shown as the ultimate human experience, because it kind of pulls all the other pathways together. It takes knowledge of another person, appreciating their beauty, a deep sense of friendship, and the shared creation of a life. It's the glue that makes the other 4 pathways truly whole. Okay, so now that we have this framework, the story gets even juicier. Because the creature isn't just some monster out there. Psychologically, he represents the parts of us that we're scared of, the parts we deny and try to push away, what you might call our unacknowledged shadow. Just listen to this. The self-awareness here is absolutely staggering. The creature knows what he should have been, Adam, innocent, deserving of love, but he also knows what he was made into, a fallen angel kicked out of paradise for literally no reason. That one line captures our entire human capacity for both godlike innocence and tragic, terrible destruction. And this is where it gets really personal, right? This becomes a powerful lesson for all of us. The story is a perfect picture of a modern psychological truth. The things we push down and deny, they don't just disappear. They come back, and they come back with a vengeance. The more Victor rejects the creature, the more monstrous the creature's actions become, which, in turn, just mirrors the growing monstrosity in Victor's own soul. So, all of this connects back to the novel's super famous subtitle, The Modern Prometheus. You remember the myth. Prometheus was the guy who stole fire or knowledge from the gods and gave it to humans. Mary Shelley uses this myth to send a timeless warning about the dangers of creating things without thinking through the consequences. The bottom line is this. Victor Frankenstein is the modern Prometheus. He grabs the fire of creation, but he completely drops the ball on his responsibility to what he's made. The story isn't against science or against knowledge. Not at all. It's a profound warning that our ethics have to keep up with our technology. And you know what? This dilemma is maybe more relevant now than it was back then. The fears in the 19th century about anatomy and galvanism, well, you can draw a straight line from those to our anxieties today about artificial intelligence and genetic engineering. We are constantly creating things we might not be morally mature enough to handle. Wow, this is hands down one of the most chilling lines in the entire book. The creature says this to Victor, and it just perfectly captures the ultimate terror of creating something irresponsibly. The tables have completely turned. The creation, born from neglect and pain, is now calling the shots. It's a stark warning that the things we make can and will end up controlling us if we don't do our moral duty. So if the problem is creation without care, what's the solution? The story gives us a pretty profound answer, one that goes way beyond science. It suggests that love is the ultimate technology, the one force that can truly reconstruct and heal humanity. So the idea here is to think about love not just as some warm, fuzzy feeling, but as a structural force. It's the essential mechanism that holds all those 5 pathways, knowledge, aesthetics, fraternity, creation, together in a healthy balance. You could almost call it the operating system for being a good human. Because without that integrating force, everything just falls apart. It gets corrupted. Knowledge turns into a tool for domination. Aesthetics becomes nothing but vanity. Fraternity twists into a rigid hierarchy, and material creation becomes pure exploitation. You can see Victor Frankenstein in every single one of these broken pathways. And that, right there, is the heart of the tragedy. Victor Frankenstein's story is a story of imbalance. His brain, his intellect, his raw ability to create was miles ahead of his emotional and moral ability to care for what he made. He had all the knowledge in the world, but none of the love he needed to use it wisely. Which leaves us with this final urgent question. The core lesson of Frankenstein is that every act of creation demands an equal act of care. We live in a world that we are constantly remaking, with technology, with ideas, with our relationships. So the question the novel posed 200 years ago is the exact same one we face today. In the face of our own incredible power, how will we choose to be human?